Hello, English learners. Hello again. Hope you're having a good week. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Michael, and I am an online English teacher. Today, I want to talk a little bit about ways to get English immersion or practice English while traveling. And you can do this whether you're in an English-speaking country or any country. Wherever you go in the world, unless you're using your native language, you probably are going to be using English. So it's very, very useful to learn for that reason, of course. So as I have spoken about a lot, if you follow, my videos and my podcast, I have recently come back from a 3-month trip from Asia. And in Japan specifically, I was using my Japanese every day and I was fully immersed in that language. So it was a really good way to practice that language for me. And while I was doing that, I thought about many ways that you can practice your English too while you travel. And the reason I think this is a really important point to talk about is because before this trip, I was never able to get very much practice in another language. And I'm sure you've experienced the same thing too. When you travel, it's very easy to practice hello, thank you, goodbye, you're welcome, could I have this please? But they're very basic phrases. It's very difficult to go beyond these phrases and start using more advanced structures and even have full conversations. It's very difficult to find that kind of practice. So I want to compare this to my first trip to Japan in 2016. I basically spent the whole month in Japan and all I said was, hello, I'd like to check in, please, or I'd like to check out, please. Beyond that, I really didn't practice much Japanese. And it was my fault, I didn't do so well to go out of my comfort zone, and I could have done a lot more, which is what I did on this trip. So I want to share with you what I learned. So traveling alone is not the best way to practice English. I know that's a controversial thing to say, but if you really want to get immersed and practice your English, you have to step outside your comfort zone and you have to do something a little bit different, a little bit unusual, perhaps. So the first thing you can do is to put yourself in situations that force you to use your English, or at least make it more likely that it will happen. So the biggest one is to think about your accommodation. Where will you be staying? Most people probably stay in hotels, but to be honest, hotels are the worst place you can stay if you want to practice English, because you're kind of cut off and isolated from the rest of the world. And apart from saying check in, check out, there's not so much chance to practice in the hotel. So there are a few options for you depending on your comfort level. Of course, you can stay in a hostel. Now, hostels are a great way to meet travelers and people who speak English, but also all over the world. So there'll be many languages in the hostel. And depending on the hostel, there'll probably be some good opportunities to talk to people and make friends. So that's maybe like the mid-range. If you're a little bit daring, but you want some comfort, you can go for a hostel. If you're really daring or you want to do something a bit unusual, I would recommend couch surfing. So couch surfing is a really good app that you can use to meet travelers, but also you can request to stay at people's houses for free. So it can be quite scary if you haven't done that before, but it's a really nice way to meet locals, learn about the culture, and get some language practice too. So I highly recommend checking out and learning more about couch surfing. For me, though, something more appropriate for my comfort level is Airbnb. And I think this would be most of you would agree as well. So Airbnb, for those who don't know, is a website or app where you can book houses, apartments, flats, or just rooms. You can book places to stay, and there's so much choice that you can find there. What I like to do is try to find a private room. So this is where you're staying in someone's house, but you have a private room. Sometimes you also have private bathroom as well, but perhaps the kitchen is shared, or the hallway is shared, or maybe the bathroom is shared. But if you find the right place, you can sometimes find an opportunity to talk to the owner of the house and get to know them a little bit. So my second night in Japan, even though I was a little bit scared and apprehensive, I stayed in a private room in a nice Japanese lady's house. And it was a really amazing way to start my trip. It gave me that confidence I needed because in the evening, I had dinner in her kitchen with her. While I was cooking and eating, we were talking in both Japanese and English, and she told me a lot about her area, the country, the culture, and we had a nice chat about language as well. So it was really good for my confidence, and if I stayed in a hotel, I would never have had that nice experience. And she even invited me back for another night for free. So you never know what's going to happen if you put yourself in these situations. Another way you might consider getting language immersion is a little bit more extreme, but you could consider doing some kind of volunteer work. So again, when I went to Japan, I did something called woofing. Woofing. And this is basically volunteer work on organic farms. And what was really amazing about this is that I was living in the countryside, far away from civilization, or so it seemed. And I was seeing the kind of normal lives of people in rural Japan. But also what was really interesting is that most people didn't speak English. So I was forced to use Japanese every day. And that was a really exciting thing for me. So you don't have to join woofing. That might be too boring or not interesting for you. But think about what you can do. Think about a situation that you can put yourself in where you have to use English. Any kind of club or program or anything like that, or course that you can do where you can't avoid it. My final piece of advice is something that we can all do, and I would recommend at least considering when you go on your next trip abroad, and that is not to buy a SIM card. Don't get phone data. So I did this again in Japan, and it was really challenging, but also quite exciting, because when I got lost, I had to ask people for directions. Another benefit of this is that I was much more observant of my surroundings. I was looking at the buildings, even the trees, so I could memorize where I was going. And because I was looking at everything much more, I enjoyed walking around so much more than I normally would. So that's a side benefit, a bonus benefit. One time, for example, I was trying to get used to the trains in Kyoto, and it was a little bit confusing, so I decided I would ask someone to help me. But I didn't know how to say the train line, the train line. So I had to look up on my dictionary on my phone. I have an offline dictionary, which I also recommend. I looked up the word for train line, and then with my new knowledge, I asked a nearby lady who looked very kind, and she helped me in Japanese, and she helped me find where I was going. And it was a really nice experience and a great way to practice too. So to summarize my advice to get English immersion when you travel, number one, think about your accommodation. Don't go for the easy option. Go for an option where you maybe are more likely to meet people. Number two, put yourself in situations where you have to use English, such as volunteer programs, courses, clubs, sports events, things like that. And maybe book it before the trip so you have no option, you have no chance to back out when you get there. And finally, do not get a SIM card. Rely on your ability to ask people and not always use maps or Google to find the answer. Okay, so that was my slightly ranty advice or opinion for you today. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear if you like my ideas, or even better, if you have any of your own ideas. Let me know in the comments. I'd be really happy to hear your ideas. Thank you for watching another video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.